And we're back. So that was me poking fun at myself because I'm so anti VST plugins. I didn't end up using Pod Farm, you know, $200 for Pod Farm. If I could raise my eyebrow, I would. But I ended up using EZMix 2, and there's two presets. Here they are. Let's talk about what I know that they used over certain periods. And if you just press pause, here's what my Dying Bride used in the past. If you guys know any insider information on this one, let me know in the comments. I'm not the most well-versed on this band. This was me caving to comments because a lot of people were very vocal about my Dying Bride, so I had a bit of a crack. So this wasn't really a recreation because I didn't have a pod, so I just went down the route where I just tried to recreate the essence, and I couldn't nail it because they have keyboards, so I didn't use keyboards. They have things like choir voices in the background and the rest of it. So this is really my cover version of My Dying Bride with no keyboards and no, fake choruses and things like that. So what do you think? I actually unlocked something with my voice. A little bit of a tip for you. Yeah, some of you might know I've been sick on and off. I just keep on getting it's not like a serious sickness. It's like a cold or something, and it keeps on coming back and going away and coming back. So it's happened over the last month. So it is the AIDS. But when you want to record low vocals or, very close up, very personal vocals, it's a bit of a tip. When you have a cold, it's kind of good for doing the low stuff. And another tip as well, if you don't have a cold, as soon as you wake up, if you have a home studio, as soon as you wake up, don't take a sip of anything. Just go straight to the studio and start singing the low parts, because you'll have that gravelly, bassy expectorant in your vocal cords. So, pretty just some little tips there for you songbirds that are not just going brie into the mic. All right, chaps. So, like I say, share all your My Dying Bride comments and let me know what you think. And you think I should do more vocal stuff or what, or should I stick to the guitar? All right, chaps. So this was a quickie. I've been Owie. Please subscribe. Circle of tone. Okay, so because everything on this song was done via VST, which is basically a software version of an amplifier, software version of a drum kit, software version of reverb, things like that. Let's see what I did. Let's just have a look at one track that I did. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to play from the start. So you can hear it sounds amp-ish. So if I turn off the amp, so that's what it sounds like direct. This is it with the amp. So let's have a look at EZMix first. So you can see I've got the So you can see I've got the acoustic guitar with reverb. So I basically picked a setting which I liked. It sounds okay. Remember, I'm using a guitar with EMG pickups. EMG81, no split, I can't split the coils on that thing. So that was the main riff. And I think I doubled it up. Let's have a look. You can see I name everything perfectly. I'm so lazy. I'm so lazy with this stuff. There is another guitar in My Wine in Silence, and you can hear the beginning where I just strike chords hard, and that's to get the trail going. Let's just listen to this as it is. It's coming through one side because I panned it. So now I've got the left and right. So that sounds pretty damn good. And let's see what it sounds like. This is the sync. This is going to be one side without the VST. Slightly different. I'm pretty famous for making fun of people that have massive reverb trails and huge delays, and it's become so overdone in modern metal, especially prog and gent. Listen to how crap my playing is. Now listen to this crutch. Now it sounds like angels are playing. So at first, you know, like around 15 years ago, when shim verbs started to be rediscovered, somebody started using that and blowing people's minds, because the originators do deserve credit for, you know, coming up with this amazing, I don't know, it's hard really to explain, it's just an angelic sounding, it turns your guitar really into a keyboard. And then everybody started doing it, and that's why now it's, to me, it's nails on a chalkboard. I got that to sound good, okay, but there's so many people doing it. That's why I like that My Dying Bride. I mean, this song is old, so it's like people like them that deserve the plaudits, not somebody who's doing the same bloody thing right now, you know, just rehashing what better people have done before them. So that's part of the reason. I don't really explain some of the times where I make fun of Strymon and the rest of it. It's becoming a meme at this point. But that's it's like everybody's doing it. You hear how shit my guitars were, right? Out of tune. That's actually on purpose. I want it to be slightly different from the other guitar. See, the other one should be in tune. See? What that does, if you have two identical guitars left and right, it's kind of boring to me. If I put one slightly different, either out of tune or even drag it slightly to the side, you know, so it's slightly out of time. Sometimes it works, sometimes it adds something. And in this instance, this was done on purpose. I spent so much time doing this type, just tweaking. Just a little tip, you know, fuck things up. Doesn't have to be pretty. So that's the guitars. Basically, I'll show you. I don't think I went into detail of what it was. It's called Ambient. So it's an EZMix 2. Click on Ambient. I ramped everything up to max almost on that, and you'll get exactly the same tones. And it's don't overuse it. If you can use it to make it sound slightly different, or you know, because you never know what's going to happen. But oh my god, I'm so sick of that technique. It's like, enough. Let's move on. Guitar, you have almost an infinite amount of notes that you can play, all sorts of sounds you can get. Why copy people? Said the guy who copies albums. In my defense, my original music really doesn't sound like anyone else. It sounds fucking shit on its own. Okay, so vocals. Some people have asked me about my vocals recently. Let's just have a listen to them with. It's going to sound pretty big. Where are you now? And then without. Where are you now? My voice kind of sucked recently. Well, for recently, a couple of years ago, my voice genuinely sucked. Because I broke my nose in a mosh pit, and it smashed my nose so badly I could only breathe out of it was an 80% deviation. So 20% of my airway, I could only get 20% of air in. And the whole thing made me sound like I had a cold constantly, but not in a good way. Like, you know, it was just not happening. And I had surgery to open up my, you know, the septum or whatever it is that's deviated, and it really worked. So if you have anything like acid reflux or anything that's going to be washing up, you know, bile over your vocal cords, or any sort of, like me, of, you know, physical thing, get it sorted out. It's the best thing I did. You know, it's expensive in America, but it was well worth it. And actually, I should have brought some water in with me, because sick and now I can't talk and I'm all raspy. Rasputin. Okay, so we got Devil Lock and Little Plate. Remember I was talking about why I don't buy plugins anymore? I use plugins, but I don't buy them. I actually kind of use them sparingly, apart from on my voice. I do use hardware compressors and things recently, but not in this case. In this one, I wanted it to be really crystal clear and going straight into an interface. It's pristine, you know, it's clinical, but then you fuck it up with the Devil Lock. Devil Lock is my favorite distortion, and I'm only using a tiny amount, and a bit of, it's also a compressor. So I use a Devil Lock and I use a Little Plate. The Little Plate is based on these, the Little Plate is based on these huge metal plates that are in boxes the size of a wall. Okay, think of lots of little plates and springs and things inside a box, and the box is only about, you know, probably 6 inches wide, internally. Externally it's going to be a bit more, and they tended to put these inside walls in big studios, so they'd kind of play the signal more electronically through these plates, and the plates would vibrate within, and they would create these plate reverbs. So this Little Plate is my favorite VST version of that plate reverb. Plate reverb, I only want 2 things to make my studio complete. I want a real Neve 1073 preamp, and I want real plate reverb. Now let's look at the bass. I did 2 bass tracks. So there's 2 bass guitars going at the same time, and the ironic thing is, you cannot hear bass when you go direct. It's a pet peeve of mine. When you go direct and go through a bass, it almost disappears. That's why I joked around in the video where I said, you know, bass players are used to going DI because you can't hear them anymore, and he's just happily, you know, plonking along as if it matters, because he's given up on caring about anything, because he's only going to go direct anyway. Why work on your bass rig when, you know, they're going to go, hey, here's a Sansan pedal, that's you. It's like, give up. It's harsh. All right, so bass guitar, I think it's this one. None of them are named. Okay, the reason I did this, you can hear how much effects are on it. The reason I did that was they have a synth going through it, and the synth has choir O's and R's, and they also have a synth in the background as well. So what I did is I went for a regular bass guitar, which is this one, so I just went direct and I put Waves Renaissance bass on there, so you can hear it has more swell, more sonorous, more bass, basically. You know, it's like fool ourselves with words. So then the 2 of them just adds something. They're actually 2 different takes, so there's 2 different. I'm even jamming, I'm not even really playing anything solid through the whole thing. So even though I have 2 different bass guitars playing 2 different things in the song, it adds chaos. You know, I always talk about chaos. I didn't have one guitar the same. I don't have 2 bass. I had 1 guitar out of tune. I had 2 completely separate bass tracks. So I think it turned out well. For VST stuff, very proud of it. I just used EZMix for all the guitars, and just Waves plugin, which usually pops up for 20 bucks. I bet you at Black Friday, you could get that Renaissance bass for 20 bucks. And to be honest, I probably used Renaissance bass about 5 times in my life. So it's not like I actually know the plugin that well, but I honestly, I right clicked, insert audio effects. I just went to bass. And this is the only one that was in bass. So yeah, I'm like, don't overthink it when it comes to this. I thought it worked, but actually it didn't work when it comes to bass, because you can't hear the bass, but you hear the effect of it. Obviously, if you take it out, it's not going to be, you know. The solo was a scratch solo where I was just messing around over it. And what I do is I upload to YouTube and test the mix, you know, to see how it's sounding before I pour my heart into a solo. And I actually like the bits that I clipped out, because when you start hearing things and you keep on listening, it's like, oh, I liked it, and this I didn't even record another one. You know, I did have a couple of cracks on it because this says record 6, so you know I was going back and forth. So yeah, it's good fun. So that is how I mix in the box, and you won't be seeing that very often because I'm usually throwing microphones around. All right, chaps, you guys have a good one, and I will see you next time.